And in 1629, a slow-moving horror crept south across the Alps into Italy. German and French soldiers marched through Lombardy, carrying war and disease together. Milan stood as one of Europe's grandest cities, proud, walled, and crowded. Inside its gates, over 100,000 people lived shoulder to shoulder. Narrow streets trapped heat, filth, and the stench of daily life. Few understood that rats and fleas traveled with every soldier's supply cart. The first fevers appeared quietly, dismissed as ordinary autumn sickness. Physicians noted strange swellings forming in the armpits and groin. These were the dreaded buboes, swollen lymph nodes turning black and hard. Denial spread faster than the disease itself in those early weeks. City officials feared panic more than they feared the sickness. Merchants kept trading, markets stayed open, and crowds kept gathering. By spring 1630, the truth could no longer be hidden or ignored. Bodies began appearing in doorways, unclaimed and quietly decomposing. Milan's health tribunal finally declared a full-blown epidemic underway. Authorities ordered the sick isolated in a sprawling building called the Lazzaretto. Thousands of infected citizens were dragged from their homes by force. Families were torn apart as loved ones vanished behind quarantine walls. Inside the Lazzaretto, suffering multiplied faster than any doctor could manage. Makeshift wooden shacks lined its courtyard, packed with the dying. Priests walked among the sick, offering final rites, and doctors wore long-beaked masks, stuffed with herbs, to filter foul air. They believed miasma, poisoned air itself, was spreading the contagion. Nobody yet understood the true role of the humble flea. As deaths mounted, panic curdled into suspicion and public paranoia. Rumors spread of untori, plague spreaders who smeared poison on walls. Innocent citizens were accused, tortured, and executed for imaginary crimes. A public monument, the Colonna Infame, was later built to record this shame. Church bells that once celebrated life now tolled endlessly for death. Cart after cart rattled through empty streets, collecting fresh corpses. Grave diggers worked around the clock, overwhelmed by sheer numbers. Mass graves opened across the city, hastily dug and quickly filled. Entire households died together, sealed inside their own front doors. Grass began growing between cobblestones on once bustling avenues. Shops shuttered, workshops emptied, and Milan's economy ground to a halt. The wealthy fled to country villas, abandoning the city to its fate. The poor had nowhere to run and bore the heaviest losses. Textile workers, a backbone of Milan's economy, were hit especially hard. Guild membership collapsed as entire trades lost most of their workers. By 1630, roughly half of Milan's population had already perished. Neighboring towns like Verona and Venice suffered their own devastating waves. Across northern Italy, over 1 million lives were ultimately lost. Some historians believe the plague reshaped Italy's economic future for decades. Milan's textile dominance never fully recovered its former European standing. Slowly, as 1631 arrived, infection rates began finally to decline. Survivors emerged cautiously, blinking into a changed and quieter city. On October 22nd, 1631, Milan held a solemn procession of Thanksgiving. A shrine now stands at Milan's cathedral, marking the plague's grim end. The Lazzaretto itself was eventually demolished, its horrors slowly forgotten. Yet its name still echoes through Milanese memory and street signs today. The plague of Milan reshaped how Europe understood public health forever. Quarantine, isolation, and sanitation practices sharpened in its terrible aftermath. What began as a whisper of fever ended as a continental catastrophe. The city that survived it would never be quite the same again.